John Peel, top DJ of the year. I would imagine that you were a little surprised, or weren't you?
Astonished, as a matter of fact. Yes, I don't know exactly how significant it is, because with a specialist type of newspaper like the Melody Maker, and if you do a specialist program also, you tend to get people more involved with it. If you believe in what you're doing, you get people more involved with it, so they're more likely to vote. So I don't know how much it signifies, but it is nice because it's the first thing I've won since I was 10.
Because you're quite unlike most of the other disc jockeys in style. You're not frenetic, you're not jokey, you're not really terribly matey, I would say, in your manner. Are you normally sort of take me or leave me, or is this a studiedly deliberate approach?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just sort of me. It's very, very difficult when you're doing a radio program not to get caught up in things that you know are going to be successful or know are going to work for you, But I think on the other hand, I've done radio things for so long now that, and I did an awful lot of the sort of let's move and groove, here's another knockout sound, sort of everything is wonderful and, the sun is always shining, sort of radio things in America. And the sun doesn't always shine, it's not always wonderful, And when things concern me, I like to be able to say so. And having reached the advanced age of 29 now, I feel that the time has come to own up, so this is what I do.
But the material you select for, let's say, nitride, do you choose what you want, or do you choose what you think your audience is going to want?
I choose basically what I want, and then play it in the hope that the audience will like it. I mean, nitride is such a conglomeration of things, there's so many curious things going in there. The whole idea is that you can't have it as wallpaper. You make the initial choice between listening and not listening, and then having made that choice, which of course I suppose you can make throughout the program really, but having made that choice, you're then hopefully presented with a number of alternatives, so many in fact, that something at some stage of the program will involve you. And that's what it's for, really.
But do you think of your audience as predominantly teenage or family, or don't you put them in any kind of convenient category?
I don't think they fit into any sort of convenient category, really. There's a lot of casual listenership, I suppose, at that time of night, and a lot of them don't like the program. You get a lot of angry letters and angry phone calls. But I suppose that a lot of them are students, probably, that sort of age thing, but I don't think you can pin it down to any particular group.
And yet, of course, the Melody Maker poll is presumably predominantly teenage.
I would think so, yes. But of the four main music newspapers in this country, I think, and this sounds as though I'm just saying it because I came top of it, but I think the Melody Maker is probably, perhaps you would say, the most thoughtful. They don't concern themselves with the pictures of pop stars, in the bath and all the sort of teeny bopper, titillation stuff, which is good, So I think I probably won't come anywhere in the other three polls, but it's nice to...
But you don't really mind?
Not enormously, no. I mean, it's, it made me happy, and it made my mum very happy, basically, that's it. And it made Bernie Andrews, the producer, because Top Gear was also voted the top radio program, and he was ecstatically happy, because he believes in the program very strongly, as I do. And
of course, you were, for a couple of years, a DJ with Radio Caroline, then before
London.
that... Oh, London was it?
London,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Before that, in America, what actually got you interested in the idea of doing radio at all?
Well, it's a long story, actually. It goes back to when I was about 12 or 13. I used to listen to a program on the American Forces Network that preceded the Grand Ole Opry, where they used to play the top 10 hits in America, and I thought then, how great it would be to be a disc jockey, because I was sort of collecting records in huge numbers even then. And also because as a child, during the war, and we lived in the country, and my father was away in North Africa or somewhere, and I grew up to be very shy, and it got progressively worse as I grew older. So it got to the stage when I was in America. At one stage, I locked myself away for about 3 months, in a room completely by myself. Actually, it was a little hut at the bottom of somebody's garden, and didn't come out at all for about 3 months, and had all food and things delivered to the door. And I spent the whole time fixing up the inside of this hut in the most sort of grotesque manner, like a spider's web, with miles and miles and miles of black string all over everywhere, you know. And I was sort of sitting there looking at this, and I realised, you know, that there's something going very wrong. And about this, obviously, you know, so about this time, the Beatles came along, and a fellow at the radio station, which was in Dallas, Texas, was talking about Liverpool. You know, he was talking this incredible rubbish. So I called him up and sort of set him straight about it. And he said, "Well, would you like to come down and talk on the radio?" You know, and then it just suddenly opened up, and I thought, here we are. So I went down, and I was a Beatle expert for a while. You know, doing research into the colour of Paul McCartney's eyes and other vital matters. And from then sort of progressed into other things.
But why did you know that you'd be able to do radio? I mean, if you were so shy.
Well, I don't know really. It just suddenly seemed, you know, I thought, this is it. You know, this is what I've been waiting for. The thing about radio is, or radio in America and on the Pirates actually, was that you could sit alone in a studio, much more so on the Pirates than anywhere that I've ever worked. You'd be alone in a studio, and the only person that you could be talking to was the listener, and you could build up a very, very strong and a very definite two-way thing. It sounds ridiculous, but I really could feel a sort of two-way thing going. On the BBC, it's not as easy to generate this because of the presence of technicians in the studio, but fortunately, all the ones that I've worked with have been very sympathetic and nice people. And I usually try and bring a few friends into the studio as well, and try to keep us sort of reasonably happy.
But now, are you still, metaphorically speaking, living in a little hut?
No, I don't think so. While I was on the Pirates, when I was on Radio London, I think, because you were out there for 2 weeks, totally sort of remote from anything, and you had no problems at all. There were no girls out there, and you knew there weren't going to be. There wasn't even money or anything. There was food supply. Now, because things have sort of changed so drastically, I can't live in the little hut, you know, because I feel a little like a sluice gate at the moment, you know, because I can get just so much onto the radio programs that I do, and yet there is so much that should be going on, and this is always sort of pressing against me all the time.
Yes, but what do you like when you come out of the studio? I mean, personal relationships with people you know there at the BBC. I mean, do you find it difficult to get on with people?
I don't know, really. I've never been in any one place long enough to really sort of build any very firm friendships. After all, I've only been back in England after 7 years in America for 18 months, so I haven't really known anyone for longer than 18 months.
But are you ever bothered, for example, by what you imagine people's attitude to you is? I mean, your circumstances have changed, and if you're basically a shy person, you're probably introspective as well, so that when people talk to you in the normal course of your job, do you ever feel perhaps that they don't really mean what they say?
I think this is inevitable. If you're in a position to sort of promote, to put it on a sort of coarsest level, to promote people in their activities, to give them some sort of exposure, I think you have to put up with an awful lot of sort of false things. But if you can be very honest and very straight and just keep yourself, you know, to doing what you believe, then people will realize this and only bring things that they know you're going to consider to have merit to you. And so really there aren't any problems, and I live a very happy little life, really, you know. It's just very nice.
Another form of promotion in a way is this LP that you've just made, the Liverpool Scene. Now, what exactly is it?
Well, what it is, you know, I believe that the function of a disc jockey, my function as a disc jockey anyway, rather than to be, you know, because I'm too old to be chased down the street by pubescent girls, so what I like to do is to find things of merit and try and make other people aware of them, because I don't create myself, you know, so this is what I can do. It's like a sort of John the Baptist thing, you know, except I hope I don't come to the same rather unfortunate end. But so if I find things that I like, I try to help them as best I can. And the Liverpool Scene, Adrian Henry, the poet, and Andy Roberts, guitarist, and Mike Evans and Mike Hart, who also do poetry and songs and things, and then a drummer and a bass player. They're incredibly creative, the six of them together, and it's very surprising they haven't been recorded before. So I thought, well, somebody said, "Would you like to record them?" So I said yes. So I put on my record producer's hat and lurched into the studio and did absolutely nothing except talk nonsense over the talkback thing, and they produced it themselves in essence. But it's been very successful, actually. It's a very good record.
It seems to raise a problem, I would have thought, and again possibly straying into personal relationships, in that if in a program like Nitride, where you do use poets like Adrian Henry, Roger McGough, people like that, if you use the record, that will make you money.
Oh, well, the amount of money that it will make me is actually negligible. I don't...
Unless it becomes the best...
Well, I don't know whether it will. The money thing really does... I've talked to Andy Roberts, who's sort of basically the sort of head of the thing, as far as the money goes, anyway, about it. And I told him I'd send him conscience checks if he made a lot of money out of it, because I'd feel a bit guilty. I don't really worry very much about it, because I'm getting money, and I don't worry about accumulating it. I think it's important as a means of exchange, but it's a bad mistake to regard it as an end in itself and to hoard it and everything.
Well, you said somewhere that you like to keep about a couple of £100 in the bank just in case.
Yeah, well,
just in case what?
Well, I don't know. You always be prepared for some sort of disaster just around the corner. I don't know what it would be, but it's nice to have it there in case something goes wrong.
Well, I hope there's no disaster around the corner. John Peel, thank you.
Thank you.